Welcome to the second part of my vlog, and we're back at Horton. It's been a couple of weeks since I last caught up with the lads. I've done a little bit of fishing in that time. It's actually been fishing quite tricky, but I did manage to stalk one last week, a nice mid-20mm. I did a little bit of fishing over Raisbury with the Nash lads, managed to catch a couple then, but you'll have to wait for the Nash TV film to see them. Otherwise, yeah, a little bit down the Woolpack as well. Continued my campaign down there, managed a couple of bites, might give you a little sneak preview of one of them. And that's it, not a great deal of fishing. So I'm looking forward to the next 24 hours where, as usual, just going to try and snatch a bite or two. First job as always, have a good old walk round with my trusty baiting pouch, check every little corner, put a couple of handfuls here and there. Looks pretty good. Go find some carp. Yeah, I can see one sat under the trees there, just a little bit further around. Don't know if he's got any mates with him. Let's have a look. One or two swimming up and down there. Zipping about that one. This is where I caught the one the other day, just here, like literally right in the edge down there. There's nothing here today, you can see straight away. That day I could see fish, and it's just a question of finding them. I'm going to put a handful of bait in, just in case anything comes past. Onward. In my last vlog, this is where I did the night. We're actually fishing to this little spot. And I didn't catch one, they were proper moody on here. I don't know if there's been much out since then. It's a bit slow, but should keep an eye on it anyway. Can't see any fish down here. In fact, it doesn't really look like an edge day today. All that I've seen seem to be out in the lake. So it might be a case of just getting the floater rod out for the last couple of hours. Early evening's always quite a good time for it. Real half a rat spot here. Actually caught the 𝘁𝗶𝗀𝗲 out of here a few years ago. Right under the rod tip. Check it out. Literally there. Back at the van, done a complete lap, had a look at the church, had a look at the boat, had a look at 𝘃𝗵𝗶𝗀𝗲, and sad to say there's no fish in the edge. Well, I say sad to say because it's my favourite way of fishing for them. However, there's plenty of carp to be seen. They're all on top, so it's Flota Rota. I'm going to get Flota Rod out of the car, get some mixers, and go and try and nick one off the top. This catapult was Dell's old catapult.
Was it?
Yeah. Seen better days now. Yeah, so there's a few fish out here in the weed, very much like last time you were down here filming with me, where I nicked a quick bite out of the boat pool. We're on the church lake this time though, and in the weedy bay there's a few fish tenting up the weed. So I'm going to flick a few mixers out and see if they start taking. It's a beautiful spot here to sit, enjoy the afternoon. There's a few going on the boat pool on top, but the swan's about, so I'm going to wait and see if he disappears before I start filling it in, because he can eat a lot of mixers. Greedy bugger he is. But yeah, these are really close. They're about 10 yards out, and although it's really weedy, if I hooked it with a big hook and nothing on the line, 15-pound line, I'm landing it. So let's feed them, see if we can get them going. exciting way of fishing. This is the king, and you have to pay the king tribute. It's called swan tax. Your Majesty. Well, I got tired of playing whack-a-mole with the carp in the weed. They weren't really up for it. So I'm going to have a go for the carp on the boat pool here. I've fed the swan. I'm just going to put a little bit of bait out, see what happens. If they start taking, I'll get a rod on them real quick. Sometimes the chance comes with the first spawn. A lot of sort of floater fishing wisdom is you get them going first and then you cast out. But on the boat pool, I think it could be the catfish come up to investigate. So often your first chance comes quite quickly. We'll see anyway. You might notice I've got a really long hook link here. Well, I say really long, I've actually used them quite a bit longer than this when I've had to. When the water's clear, the fish, particularly the grassies, have got pretty good eyesight, and where they've been floater fished for a bit, they're a bit reticent to take close to the bolt machine. So we end up using really long hook links to get around that, and that works. But today they're feeding quite confidently, so I reckon I can get away with 8 or 9 feet. Oh look, they've hit those mixers already. He's coming, go on then. Angry one. Playing it on a really long line, and black rodding me. They're like, he's literally almost over the other side. Sorry. It's fighting so hard. Don't normally fight that hard, the old grassies. I think we're about to discover how thick this weed is. Oh, if I could get him to swim round to the right here. Go on then. Carp herding. Oh, he's picked up some weed. Come on, a bit further right. Just like that'll do. Just like last time, try and clear some of this weed. As you can see, it all moves pretty easily. Probably should have done this before I started fishing. There's a lesson to us that it's all too easy, isn't it, to get carried away. Fish is still there. It's all moving towards us. Get it another 3 foot in and I'll be able to nick a little bit more weed with the net. I'd like him to go solid again so I can have one more bite at that weed, and I've got a clear path to net him. But he's got other ideas. Every time he comes through, I feel like I've got him a little bit closer. Come on. Oh, it's risky now. And he's literally just there. Oh, it's a common as well. It was a carp. He's in there. He's in there. Oh. What a crazy battle. from start to finish. Thought it was just grass carp feeding out there, but managed to nick myself a bite. Well, there's my prize for a manic fight. Crazy first run. Took me all around the pond and then ended up weeding me. Look at the size of that paddle. Cool double belly character. Look at the tail on him. Enormous. I was pretty sure that was a grass carp when it took. Crazy fight, start to finish. Epic bit of Flota Rota action. They're still taking out there, so there's a chance of getting another one. Get him back, have another go. Got him. That's a grass carp, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. It hasn't gone on a super fast first run. And now it's swimming towards me. That's it, he's turned. Perfect. Oh. Oh. God, it's really shaking its head. Oh, lost him. Yeah, just a hook pull. What can you do? Luke's been chasing me around for what, 4 or 5 hours now, float fishing, and I think we're done for the night, aren't we? Yeah, I was going to have one last little go in the weedy bay where they were tenting up, but there's actually someone's gone in there for the night. So that's it for us. I think time for a cup of coffee, bit of dinner, sort the gear out for the night. I'm going to make it real simple tonight. I'm going to fish one rod in the edge somewhere, pretty sure down in church where we looked a little bit earlier. Yeah, make it simple. If I don't catch one, no drama. We get up in the morning, we go float fishing or we go stalking. Doesn't matter really. The whole point is to enjoy yourself, I think, not put too much pressure on. I do it because I want to do it, you know. I do it because I can't sit still. But at the same time, you've got to remember to enjoy it. Smell the roses. Enjoy the sunsets like this. Back on the barrow again. It's just gone 8 o'clock, quiet night. Well, it was a short night. We didn't actually get the rod out until 12 o'clock, and I say rod, I dropped one rod in the edge, just right in the margin. Sadly, nothing, but the fish were further out in the lake last night, as I kind of suspected. So last night, it was more of a social and a camping trip. I baited before I went to bed several spots, so now it's time to go and check them. And in fact, actually, I've already seen a fish in this one down here, so we've got a banker. But first of all, I'm going to do another lap of the boat pool, check another couple of areas, put a little bit more bait in. The weather's changing. Yesterday was beautiful sunshine, it was good float weather. The wind's already getting up, and at 3 o'clock we're due big rain today, so there's a good chance that the fish are going to be a little bit lower down in the water and we might have a chance of catching one out the edge. You know, as much as I love floater fishing for them, that's my favourite way of catching them. So let's go and see if we can find some fish. I say that at the end of every bit of dialogue, don't I? Let's go and find some fish, but that's what it's all about. Go and find some fish. Find fish. Fizzing up on one of the spots I baited last night, but it's a bit of a quandary really, because looking at it in the cold light of day, there's 18 yards of weed between me and the spot, and you saw the palaver it was yesterday. It's different if you're free lining when there's nothing on the line, but yeah, I'm looking at it and I'm doing a risk assessment. If I clear the weed, I'm going to spook the fish. Have a little think. To be fair, that's pretty broken up. Huh, did you see that? Well, that's on the money. This stuff's not too bad. It's floating, there's a little bit of silkweed, bit of dead ribbon weed. It's that bank just before the spot that bothers me. That looks a lot thicker. What I didn't have yesterday with me when I was floater fishing was a lead rod. It can be really useful to have a second rod. If you get one jammed up in the weed, you just cast your other lead over the weed and you can help pull that weed bed in using two rods. You know, we've done it in the past on the mead where you end up casting a couple of leads over. It sort of ends up being a team effort landing the fish, but the weed's not that dense right in front. There's just a little band just in front of the spot. So, you know, I'll fish to lose the lead. I'm going to fish strong line, big hook. Give it a go. Opportunity to use the pole. Whoop. Put a bit of that weed in while he's wedged up. He's in a bit of a weed berg at the moment. It's moving slowly, still in there. The trouble is I think it's a small fish. If it was a big one it'd kick through the weed, but the small ones, they're not powerful enough to kick through. So I'm just going to keep it moving slowly. It's not solid. What I am going to do, just quickly, is use my other lead rod. I've nearly got this big weed bed in reach now. Ironically, if it had been a bigger one, I think this fight would have been over quite quickly, but oh. Come on. I just can't let him get his head in that eelgrass down there. He's in there. He's in there. Wow, that was a mission. But what a quick bite. Still had the rod in my hand. Crazy, crazy, crazy. Just a small one, but it doesn't matter. that was exciting. Woo! Oh, check that out. That's a really nice carp. So this is one of the homegrown fish that we stocked in 2017. One of the slightly smaller ones, but like, check it out. That is a stunning carp. Beautiful, beautiful fish. And about the quickest bite I've ever had on the pole. I mean, that was 5 seconds. I still had the rod in my hand. Crazy, crazy. Proper result for 5 seconds fishing. So we're back on the mead. I baited this spot yesterday and I baited it this morning. Been for a quick walk around to look for somewhere to have a bit of breakfast and a coffee, and I've just seen one ghost past in the edge. It's a good chance, so I think that's going to be the final roll of the die for today. Luke's off in a couple of hours, so I'm going to drop a rod in the edge here. We'll sit back, have a coffee, a little bit of breakfast, chill out. It's been a busy morning already, hasn't it? We've had a couple of moves, done a couple of laps, so yeah. Chance of one though, when you can see them, they're catchable. I don't think it's going to be as quick as the last bite though, but we'll see how long it takes. Ground it out, but it's looking less and less likely that it's going to happen. I've spent the last 3 hours basically having my pants pulled down by these fish. There's been 4 of them feeding, one decent fully scaled and his mate, and a couple of other ones that join a little more occasionally, and they fed right over the rig. I don't know, they must have not eaten it, you know, deliberately not eating it, because they were feeding over it for too long. So I rung the changes because I could see that I was getting done. Changed my hook bait for something a little more subtle. Didn't get picked up again. Tied a new rig, tied a bottom bait rig, little snowman, and put that out. And the current situation is not being picked up again. Been so frustrating this afternoon, in a good way, you know, and that's the joy and the pain of this kind of fishing. You can watch them feeding, you can see when they're doing ya. Oh man, they've got away with it. But yeah, it's been a good trip anyway. Eked out a couple of bites. Would have been nice to catch one from each pond, wouldn't it? Maybe next time. Hello again. So since we last saw each other, I've been quite busy. In fact, just after Luke left last time, I carried on stalking. I couldn't resist, you know, they proper mugged me off in that corner, but I actually did manage to catch one, and I got the bite on camera, and it was a really nice one as well, mid-30 common, lovely old fish. I also managed to stalk one from Horton this week. Another mid-30, a mirror this time, a bit of opportunist angling that was, which kind of made up for losing one out the net as well. Had a really nice mid-20 mirror, was waiting to do some pictures of it. Not long, I think it had been in the net about 20 minutes. Went to lift it out, literally went to lift it out, and it jumped over the neck cord. See you later, Free Willy. Yeah, so that was a bit of a, well, it was funny because the camera actually caught the moment, but yeah, it was a bit of a, anyway, made up for it with a lovely carp. So that was pretty interesting morning up at Horton. So right now I'm heading somewhere different. Always pays to have your finger in a few pies, and this is another venue which has been on my radar for a while. I've had a ticket for a couple of years, don't really fish it much, but what I do try and do is I try and keep in touch, and that's what I'm going to do now. We're going to go for a little walk around, see what's going on. I did actually come last night as well. I spent a couple of hours walking around between midnight and 2 o'clock. Did see a guy catch one. He didn't know I was watching him, but it gave me a little clue. I'm not going to sheep him up, that's not how I do, but what it did tell me was that the fish are at range. You know, I think he was fishing quite long. Anyway, let's check it out. Yeah, so here we are in 50 something acres of water, and there's fish in the edge here. See it fizzing up and colouring up here. That's definitely a carp feeding. It's got to be a carp feeding. Almost a pole opportunity, you know, dropping a rig on one. Mad, isn't it? If I roll the clock back 33 years, I can't believe it's been that long, but this was actually the first place I ever fished as a kid. I was 11 years old, it was the school holidays, and I was introduced to fishing by a friend of mine. I think I caught a perch, that was my first fish. Isn't everybody's first fish a perch? And I've caught quite a few different species out of this lake. Tench, bream, perch, pike, big roach. Never caught a carp. They just didn't really exist in here back then, or they were mythical. And you know, as a teenager, I was doing my apprenticeship, shall we say. But yeah, here I am back here, over 30 years later, and I've got a ticket. Now, I've known that there's been some good carp in here for a few years. By good carp, they're not massive, you know, it's not full of 40-pounders. There's just a few nice old carp, scaly ones, you know, the fish that I like to catch. So it's been on my radar. Like I say, I've had a ticket for a few years now, not really got the time to fish it. What I don't want to do is spend loads and loads of time here. So it's quite close to my home, that's a really big advantage. It's 10 minutes from my front door, somewhere that I can keep an eye on, and days like today are all about that. It's about keeping in touch with the place. You know, I haven't actually had a great deal of time to fish here over the last few weeks, but I try and regularly walk it, try and regularly just keep an eye. And actually last night I came down and walked it quite late last night. It was a big full moon. I actually had every intention of fishing it, but there was a few people on. You know, although it's quite a big lake, it doesn't take that many people to make it fairly busy. So yeah, I decided not to fish. Went back home, which you can do when you live 10 minutes away. And I'm back here today for another good look in daylight. And it's been quite interesting already. You know, we've found fish potentially feeding quite close in the edge. Spoken to a couple of other anglers who have caught. So yeah, I feel a little bit more like I know what's going on, you know, which is, it's hard, isn't it, turning up completely blind. So this reservoir varies in size, and at the moment, because we're in a bit of a low water situation, it's probably around 50 acres. If it's full up, probably closer to 60, 65. So it's not a small water. It's not particularly deep though, so it's not, you know, super challenging. They can be caught everywhere. There's lots of other things that don't go in your favour though. A lot of the bank's inaccessible, you can't get to it, you know, it's quite long range fishing if you can get to it. You are allowed boats. I haven't got one, but I don't think I'm going to need one. You know, I found fish in the edge. Looks good, yeah. By boats, I mean bait boats, not real boats. It used to have a sailing club on. There's no sailing club now, but there are a lot of birds. And as I look out across the water now, God, there are hundreds of geese, hundreds of coots, tens of swans. Yeah, it's a challenge, you know, and you've also got the challenge that it's full of crayfish and big Turkish ones as well. They can obliterate your bait in minutes. So it's going to be about plastic hook baits. It's going to be about maybe not using the fishiest, smelliest boilies, because I think that is going to be problematic with the crays. There's also a lot of other natural foods from the carp, so it's going to be hard to turn their heads. It's full of daphnia, full of swan mussels. You know, this is a really, really rich lake. The carp don't need angler's bait. So it's challenging, but I like that. You know, a lot of my fishing lately has been smaller venues, maybe a little bit higher stocks. We're looking at probably 40 odd carp in here, 40 to 50 carp. So less than a fish an acre. I think by most people's standards, that's pretty low stock. So it's a challenge indeed, but I don't intend on spending loads and loads of time fishing here. You know, I want to make the most of the time when I do find them. So yeah, I've done a couple of short overnighters so far, and I haven't caught one yet, but you know, we're talking 6 hours, 7 hours fishing. But I do need to spend a little bit more time down here. I can't just expect to rock up and catch them all the time. So as much as I can do my homework, I'm going to get down and actually do a little bit of fishing here. And my approach is going to be highly mobile, fishing off the barrow and trying to find them and fish for them. No different really to how I fish everywhere else. It's just a little bit grander scale. You know, it's going to involve a lot of walking. It's quite a long way all the way around here. I have to admit, I walked it with the barrow last night and I did it without draining the battery. So that's a plus point. I am going to be able to sort of get about and not have to push the barrow myself. I'm an old man, eh? Yeah. So yeah, a mobile approach. I'm not going to rely on bait because of the crayfish. You know, I'm going to rely on finding the fish. I don't see much point in baiting areas, and it's a tough one, isn't it? You know, on these big waters, that can be a massive advantage of getting the fish looking for bait in a particular area or used to finding it. But I think on here, the crays are going to make that really, really difficult. Might end up having to fish nuts rather than boilies. It's not ideal, is it? It's not ideal, but we find a way around it. Fishing is problem solving, and this is quite a big problem. I'm looking forward to it. I'll keep you updated anyway throughout my vlog of my progress. Hopefully, at some point in the next couple of months, I'll have a carp to show you.